Today, I'm really excited to introduce Qianhui Men, who is a lecturer working in the field of computer vision for digital health. And she works within the School of Engineering, Mathematics and Technology at the University of Bristol in the UK. Before joining Bristol, she was a postdoc researcher in Professor Alison Noble's group at the University of Oxford, where she worked on the Pulse and Turing AI WLR fellowships, and received, prior to that, her Ph.D. Degree in the Department of Computer Science from City University of Hong Kong, where she was supervised by Professor Howard Leung. She was also a visiting student in Professor Hubert Shum's and Professor Edmond Ho's groups, and she, prior to her doctoral work and beyond, obtained her master's degree from the National University of Singapore and a bachelor's degree from the Dalian University of Technology. She also received the MICCAI Yong Scientist Award in 2022. So I think on behalf of all of us, I'd just like to say thank you so much for taking the time to give us this talk today, Qianhui. And whenever you're ready, it would be great if you could take it away.
Yeah, sure. Thanks a lot for Gabby's introductions, and quite glad here today to be here to talk about my work. There is some technical issues, but fortunately we have solved it, and thanks for waiting. Hello everyone. Quite glad today to be here to talk about my work about multimodal AI for healthcare decision making. So AI has facilitated decision-making in multiple domains, especially in healthcare data analysis in multiple subfields, for example, the disease diagnosis and early detections, like this MedSam, which is a foundation model that for medical image segmentations, and it can support segmentations in different medical imaging modalities, and it has been widely used in recent days. And also another subfield, predictive analytics for public health, like the COVID-19 spread model, which analyze the population growth of the people that has been infected by the COVID during the pandemic. AI-powered virtual assistant and robotics, like this Da Vinci robotic surgery systems, which facilitate the remote surgery and the invasive surgeries. And also for the machine learning algorithms, like people look at the uncertainties, explainability, and trustworthy of the models. Like for example, this GradCam, which is a visualization tool that's showing a heat map of where the model is focusing on or the attention is. And also because we are handling healthcare data, it's important to know how we can integrate or utilize the knowledge from different hospitals or clients while preserving the privacy of the data. So all these subtopics are the ones that I'm interested in. Today I will focus on a topic that's specific in obstetric ultrasound guidance. So basically, for ultrasound guidance, it is how we could build AI model to assist sonographers to perform more accurate and efficient scannings. The objective is we want to learn how expert sonographers perform scans during this process, which will facilitate the AI-driven automations and also simplify ultrasound for fetal assessment, as well as helping non-experts or junior sonographers to perform scan. So this will largely help to reduce the scanning workload for the sonographers and to improve the efficiency of the obstetric scannings. To build such an AI system, we need to first understand the ultrasound scanning process. So for obstetric ultrasound, there will be three main processes. Like first is the scanning stage, where we normally the sonographer will start from a random plants or a plant they have already examined, and then they want to move to the next plants they want to examine. And during this stage, they didn't find that much meaningful structure yet, so they tend to move a lot on their probe to perform to do the searchings, to search the useful structures. And once they get some structures that may of their interest, they will refine their probe by just moving forward and backward, slightly refine the probe, because they already have some structures that have some autonomies that they want to further examine. But these autonomies may be not clear enough to take measurement, so they kind of move their probe slightly to reach to the best view of it so that all the autonomies are clearly presented. And lastly, once they got an image they are very satisfied with, they will stop scanning, which means they will fix their probe, and then on this image they will freeze this image and then try to interpret it and take some measurement to assess the fetus development. To build AI system to provide guidance to sonographer is not an easy job because this may face a lot of challenges. So imagine that if you want to deploy AI systems into a robotic arm to scan for human adult, it will be much more easier because the human adult will not moving all the time, and then so the structures is not moving. And but if you think of this, if you want to use a robotic arm to scan a pregnant woman, there will be a lot of concerns because mothers may not willing to let a code robotic machines to scan their babies. So that means the human sonographer is quite necessary in this process. And if we want to build such a AI systems, it need to be an assistive role rather than fully replacing the human sonographers to perform the scan. That means we need to consider quite a lot of human AI collaborations during this process. The next challenges will be the complexity of this task because there will be a lot of autonomies need to be examined during different trimesters. For example, for the fetal biometry measurement, we need to examine the head circumferences, abdomen circumferences, and femur length to decide or estimate the gestational age of the fetus. And other than that, the mother may be interested in multiple other plants like this face, lip, and mouth, and some spine structures from different view, which may indicate whether there is some certain diseases on the spines, and so on and so forth. So basically, for each of the image plan, they need to scan for, they need to be very clearly presented so that the sonographer won't take wrong measurement on it. There is also some challenges in terms of this job because obstetric scanning is a highly skilled job for sonographers, and they need a lot of hand-eye coordinations during this process. As the fetus is quite small scaled and moving all the time, sonographers need to track this fetus so that they won't lose it in the image field of view. So that means they need to react to the image, ultrasound image they retrieved, and then decide what they need to do next, how they need to move their probe in next steps so that they can find out the view they want to examine. Usually this may require years of effort for sonographer to become expert so that they can very fast locate the positions of the target views. Because we want to build such an AI systems to help sonographers to kind of accelerate this process to find the best viewpoint, we need to first think of what are the instructive guidance signals for the for this ultrasound scanning process. There will be three signals that will be of interest. The first is the probe motions, which tells the direct guidance of how you should move your probe to move to the best viewpoint. And also the eye gaze signals of the sonographers showing where they look at the current image plans. And usually they will focus on some key anatomical structures they want to further examine. So this may also inform how they should move their probe to a better viewpoint. And also there is an implicit features, which is the fetal pose. This will tell the sonographers of how the fetal is positioned in 3D from the current image plan. But this type of information is implicit because you can't use any cameras or RGB or RGBD cameras to capture the fetal pose in mother's belly, so it's not feasible. So usually how sonographers will kind of imagine the fetal pose in their mind when they perform scannings. But if we can build AI system to kind of predict the fetal pose, that will be also very useful guidance signals for them to find the best view of the plan. So to build AI system in considering these multiple useful guidance signals, we kind of collect a huge data set, which we have multi modalities and thousands of ultrasound scans. And the main modality will be the full-length scanning videos of the obstetric scannings. And we also have eye tracking information of the sonographer to show where they look at on the current image plan. So this is synchronized with the ultrasound videos. Also, we have the probe motions where we have MU sensors attached to the handheld probe showing the relative rotations of the probe. We also have text from the speech recordings, which record the conversations between the sonographers and the mothers, talking about the autonomies they are scanning and also the conditions of the fetus. So this will be this can be used to build multimodal guidance systems. So essentially, once we have these different signals, what we think of is how we can build multimodal guidance systems that can integrate these different modality data. To do that, we need to first look at how sonographers doing scannings. So basically, once they have an ultrasound image, they will have a visual focus on the image, telling where they are looking at the current image. And then based on the image, they will also decide where they need to move their move the probe to next steps. And once they have the probe movement, they will have an updated image shown on the scanners. And then based on this updated image, they will have a new visual focus on the image, and so on and so forth. They will reach the target plans. So we kind of decompose these guidance problems into two specific tasks. That is, we want to learn how they kind of move their probe and how they change their eye gaze focus during this scanning process until they reach the target plan. So this essentially we need to look at is we need to learn a multimodal graph by integrating the three modality together. So first, when we look at the causality among the three modalities, the major modality will be the ultrasound video streams. And based on this, they will kind of showing where the sonographers will decide where to look at on the image and also where to move the probes. So so the ultrasound video streams will be the main modality we need to consider. And we then kind of build a multimodal graph that integrate the three modality together. So we have this essentially we learn a adjacency matrix at each step of scanning. And each entity of this adjacency matrix showing the connectivity strengths among the three modalities. And this also indicates which scanning stage it is. Like, for example, if we find there is more weight allocated to the scan and the head, that means the hand movement will be dominant during this stage. It is very likely a searching stage where your probe move a lot during this stage. And if we found there is more weight allocated to the scan and the eye gaze, that means this likely be a fine-tuning stage where your probe is relatively stable, but your eye gaze can be very active by traversing between different anatomical structures because you nearly reach standard plan, so you can already see many important structures. So your eye gaze will be traversing between those structures to examine further. And based on this scanning stage, we can kind of predict the next steps of how we should move the probe and what is the eye gaze focus should be in next steps, so on and so forth, to reach the target plans. And we found that such a multimodal guidance system can perform better than the single modality guidance, where only probe is involved in the process. That means the eye gaze can be somehow informative to tell how you should move the probe to reach the target plan. And we also visualize the eye gaze predictions by predicting a heat map of it. We see that the Selassie map is highly aligned with the ground truth eye gaze point, which showing the main anatomical structures the sonographer want to examine. For example, like this fetal head, they will sometimes look at the chronoplexus and the midlines. And for femur, it is looking at its femur length, because for femur, it is the sonographer will look at the two ends of the femur to measure its length. So the predicted heat map is presented horizontally. And because the eye gaze can be very random to predict, we also try to extend this work by accumulating multiple steps of the eye gaze point so that we can have a eye gaze heat map. So we will try to predict the distribution of the heat map using Gaussian mixture model. That is, we can kind of retrieve not only one single gaze focus, visual focus, but multiple of them. This applies to many different autonomies, which has more than one key anatomical structures appear in the scene. For example, this abdomen circumferences plan. We have the structures like the stomach bubbles and the umbilical veins, and sometimes the spines may of interest to sonographers. So in this way, we can kind of predict multiple highlights of the on the image to show where you should look at it on these images. So till now we talk about is the sensor-based guidance. That is, we need to have this motion sensors and eye trackers attached to the ultrasound scanners to give you extra sensory information to provide guidance. But in a real clinical environment, it's hard to kind of deploy those external sensors to the ultrasound machine. And so we start to think of if we could kind of build up a sensorless guidance system purely based on the ultrasound image that the sonographer has observed. The answer is yes. And remember that we have introduced a third signals that may be useful for the guidance system, that is the fetal pulse. But this signal is something cannot be captured by some external sensors. But essentially, we can build AI model to kind of estimate this fetal pulse which will be useful for the sonographers to determine how they should move the probe in next steps. So to do that, we essentially need to kind of register the current image plan to a 3D volume so that we know we can know where the current plan is located in 3D. That means we need a 3D reference model to do that. And in previous work, people doing it using the 3D ultrasound as the 3D reference volume. So once they have some 2D images and some 3D ultrasound volume, they kind of trying to learn the positions of the current 2D images in this 3D volume. And so that they will kind of build up a link between this 2D image and the 3D, its 3D positions. But the problem of using 3D ultrasound is, firstly, the 3D ultrasound, although they may be similar imaging technologies, but the acquisition method between 3D ultrasound and 2D ultrasound can be quite different, because 3D ultrasound is usually you just take one snapshot, and then you get a volume of image. And the structure is always anatomical structure is always in the center of your volume, and also with a proper size. But in 2D ultrasound, what you get it can be anything, like the structure, the image, the anatomical structure could be at arbitrary positions and at arbitrary size, and you need to kind of zoom in or zoom out to make it fit in the center of the image. So this is one type of difficulty if you want to align this 2D image to the 3D ultrasound. And also very important challenge using 3D ultrasound is, for 3D ultrasound, it is still not a standard imaging modalities for the routine obstetric ultrasound. And that means it's really hard to acquire very large numbers of 3D ultrasound for trainings. That means your 2D image is likely to be biased to a single 3D ultrasound volume if you don't have large enough 3D ultrasound images to train the model. So instead, we think of using 3D atlas rather than 3D ultrasound to do the job. That is, we found in the 2023, there is a Nature papers that has published open source fetal head atlas across different gestational age. So basically, it is created from hundreds of ultrasound scans, and also for each gestational age, you can consider it as a medium descriptions of the fetus at this gestational age. So once we have a 2D image, what we need to do is just we can just register this 2D image to its 3D to the 3D atlas, fetal head atlas at its corresponding gestational age. If we look at the fetal head. So once we have this 3D fetal head as a reference, 3D atlas as a reference volume, the pipeline could be straightforward. That is, once we have the 2D image, we can build AI models to predict where it is located in this 3D atlas. And as a prior knowledge and also advantage of using 3D atlas is we know where is standard plan or the target plan should be located in this atlas. So we will know how we should transform from the current plan to the target plans in this 3D atlas. And through some geometry mappings, these transformations can be mapped to the probe motion language of how you should move your probe to reach these target plans. And if human sonographers follow these instructions, they will get to some image plan that should be close enough to this target views, target view in the atlas. So compared to the sensor-based guidance that we introduced before, this method is more explainable and also trainee-friendly, as essentially they simulate how sonographers perform scans, like they can kind of give a visualization of how the current plan is located by giving the 3D atlas and where you're located in the 3D atlas and where your standard plan is, so you can kind of play of your prop to move to the best view. So this task to kind of build AI system to learn the 3D positions of 2D image based on the atlas, we can decompose the problem into two steps. First is the supervised implying alignment. That means for the 2D ultrasound scans, we have the step is like we mentioned, we have 13 steps, fine-tuning steps, and then reach the target plan. So essentially, we will get a target image plan, and the good thing is we know where it is located in the 3D atlas. And if we look at the fetal head, we will have two plans. So each of the plan will have two traces, like the fetus head may be either pointing left or pointing right. So we will know where the current plan is located in the 3D atlas based on its directions. And so we can conduct supervised learnings on these target plans or the standard plans at the end of the 2D images. And we found that after we conduct the supervised alignment on those standard plans, the fetal head or the image we retrieved from the atlas can have can have the direction that is highly aligned with our curated 2D images. But if we don't conduct this alignment on the standard plans, just randomly assign it to its positions, the fetal directions can be a random guess. And other than this standard plans, the rest of the frames in the 2D scannings are the off-plan images. That means they haven't reached the target plan yet. And for these images, we actually don't know where it is positioned in 3D, so we can't do supervised learning on these images to know its 3D positions. So what we do is we kind of shift the problems of learning its 3D positions given to 2D ultrasound image into the problems of learning geometric closeness given to ultrasound images. And we have two assumptions here. The first is we assume that if the geometric closeness of two ultrasound images is decided by the temporal distance in their scanning sequence. Like for example, these are 6 scanning trajectories, and each dot represents the positions of the current frame in 3D. And we found that if two images are adjacent frames, they should be also geometrically close. And we also showed there are 20 example scanning trajectory here. And we also found the same thing that they should be somehow related, the geometric closeness should be somehow related to their temporal closeness in the scan. And also, we see some interesting observation that some of the scans will be very straightforward, like this first row of scans. The sonographers can kind of moving or twinning their probe along one directions and then fastly find these standard plans very quick. But some of the scans can be very challenging, like the bottom rows. You see the dots are in quite a mess in the center. That's likely that the fetal is moving all the time. The fetal is very active for these cases. Or the sonographer may be less experienced. They can't handle this difficult case. So they kind of have a lot of movement on their probe, moving forward and backward to find the best view. And we also find some interesting trajectory like this. Basically, for this one, we see that the beginning frame and the end frame are essentially geometrically closer to the other frames, but they are temporally far away because they are beginning and end frames. So that means the geometric closeness is not only defined by the temporal distance in the sequence. So we try to find out if there is any other factors that may affect their geometric closeness. And we try to look at this is corresponding ultrasound scans. So basically it starts from the beginning point. So like it starts from beginning point with already some stretchers seen, but it start to lose it in the middle, and then finally they kind of go back to these positions with some meaningful stretchers obtained. So that's make us to think what is the second factor will be the image level similarity. That is, if we assume that if two images ultrasound image is close enough, they should be also geometrically close. And also if the two ultrasound image is really dissimilar, they should be geometrically far away. So based on these two levels of assumptions, observations, we kind of build up a supervised learning by modeling constructive learnings on these two factors, that we put the images, if they are really similar and also temporally close, to be geometrically close, and vice versa. And we found that we can achieve a comparable performance. We can achieve a performance comparable to the sensor-based guidance systems as we introduced before. But for this method, it is entirely sensorless, which means they can be readily applicable in clinical environment with highly accuracies. And also, we found that once we gave some 2D images at the first columns, and we retrieve it in the 3D atlas shown in the last column, the anatomical structures, the positions of those structures is highly aligned with our queried images, which shows that the accuracy of the method in finding out its 3D positions. So in this talk, I introduce two type of guidance systems. First is the sensor-based guidance, that we found that eye gaze information can be very useful to inform the probe to find to go to the best viewpoint. And this is more applicable in a multisensory or a laboratory environment. And we also introduced second method of the sensor-free guidance. And this is more explainable and user-friendly to trainee sonographers, because essentially you predict the 3D pose without without the help of the external sensor signals. So at the end of this talk, bear with me that I put advertise here that we are going to host the first MICCAI workshop on the human AI collaborations, which will happen in the September this year in South Korea. And we do look at a lot of themes under these big umbrellas, like collaborative approaches, decision makings of human AI collaborations, and some AI-assisted guidance and navigations tools, and also emerging technologies for these human AI collaborations. So if you're interested, feel free to reach out, and you can also scan for the QR code on the bottom left to looking for more informations. So welcome to submit your paper to this venue. Thanks a lot for your listening, and I'm happy to take any questions, comments.
Amazing. Thank you so, so much, Qianhui. That's a really nice, interesting oversight of some of the really interesting work that you've done. If it's okay, I think I might like to start by kicking off questions, and just asking, um, you've presented quite a lot of work through this. What do you
Yeah, it's quite quite a
Yeah,
lot of them in one talk.
sure. Um, what do you think was the biggest challenge that you had over the course of like this research and developing this system?
I think in terms of the models, one big challenges is the like the eye gaze I try to model, which because it is quite random, we found the sonographer is not always focused on the right place or the anatomical structures. They can be looking at anywhere on the ultrasound image plans, and this is one challenging point, and we try to do a lot of pre-processing on the eye gaze data by removing those irrelevant eye gaze point, like if they are looking at somewhere else or if they are looking at the um, like the control panels of the ultrasound scan, so we remove that sequences. Um, and also because we try to, and also because they may get tired sometimes when they are scanning, so the eye gaze may not that useful for some scans. So we do conduct a lot of data cleaning here. And also, we finally we try to kind of focus on our research on only 10 seconds before the standard plan, because during that stage, the sonographer is mostly focused because they already find some structures that they should examine. So during that time, it is mostly focused. So we decide to use that use that sequence to reduce the noisy information on the eye gaze. Um, so this is one type of difficulties I face with, um, uh, which I would say the main difficulties. Um, and also for the second work, because we try to build the systems based on the kind of the 3D positions, but for 3D ultrasound data, it's hard to acquire. Basically, at the moment, there is no open source the 3D ultrasound data set. So we try to kind of do a lot of preliminary work to see what model we can use. We even think of if we can borrow some other modality data like the height volume from MRI or CTs, but we found there can be more challenging because they are essentially different imaging modalities, and also they are mostly on the adult's head rather than the fetus. So there could be a lot of domain difference. So finally, we found this atlas that we could use and perform quite well. So uh, yeah, that is another challenge we kind of face with.
Sure thing, thank you. So, just one more question before I jump to the chat. Is the data set that you have here a private one, or is it accessible?
Um, at the moment, it is not open sourced yet, but if you're interested in some part of it, you're welcome to request the data. Um, yeah, because that may have some ethical issues if we publish it. So at the moment, it's still private.
Sure thing.
Mhm.
And then one question from the chat then was, what has been the response to the system from the practitioners, which I guess maybe is the stenographers in this sense? Were you able to test this with any of the stenographers, and did you get any feedback?
Yeah, actually, we do have a work that we try to test the eye gaze informations we predicted to sonographer to see whether this would be useful to them to find the best viewpoint. And Yeah, basically that is ongoing work that we try to deploy the systems into a clinical environment to giving them real-time guidance of the eye gaze informations. And they found that sometimes it will be useful, like it is highlighting these very important autonomies they need to look at, that uh, the non-expert sonographers will be confused if they don't have these instructions. So, but for the very expert sonographers, they feel like they don't need this kind of tools because they already know how they should move the probe and where they should look at on the images. But because we are building the system for the non-experts or junior sonographers, so it's still very useful to them.
I guess that touches a little bit on maybe the next question, which is how you see this being used in the
Yeah,
future.
yeah, exactly.
But would you like to expand on that at all, or do you think that's a fairly comprehensive answer?
Yeah, I think that would be very useful because still ongoing work that we want to try to have more sonographers feedback on the systems. Neither the non-expert sonographers or very experienced sonographers. And also we are at the stage of trying to kind of recruiting more sonographers and collecting their feedback on the systems and see how we could improve that.
Sure thing. If there are any other questions, feel free to drop them into the chat. But just one more, I think, from me then was,
Sure.
given my own interest in like eye movement research,
Right.
did you find any major differences in the sort of eye movement and gaze information that you were collecting between the experienced practitioners, or did you find that it was quite similar across all of them?
Um, yeah, we do examine multiples like eye gaze patterns from different sonographers, and we found that different sonographer may have very different eye gaze, but mostly like the scanning behavior is different. So where they look at will be quite distinct. But once they get to the standard plans, the main focus, which means the main eye gaze is like similar because the structure is fixed. Like there are only the main structures is same for different fetals. Like abdomen, you mostly look at the umbilical veins and also the stomach bubble and the spines. So the sonographer will look at those, examine all those structures, but they may have a different order of looking at it, or they may have a different favorite of looking at which certain structures. Maybe they will kind of focus more on the umbilical vein, and if it is shown in the image, then that would be good, and they should be close to the target plan. And some sonographers may look at more on the stomach bubble, so on and so forth, but they may mostly all examine all these meaningful structures.
Amazing, thank you. And then I think probably the last question, but could you explain a little bit more about how you use text to speech for probe guidance? So do you use some kind of LLM?
For this, I don't kind of have my main own work on the test modelings for ultrasound, but we do have some colleagues working on this, like looking at the alignment between the ultrasound videos and the text to learn this ultrasound representations from these two different modalities. And we also try to look at like how we explain the ultrasound to and how like the language between the sonographers and the AI or the machine. Like because for sonographers, they will only say that like moving your probe forward to bring some structure into the view. rather than moving your probe along which directions of what degrees. So the later one is the machine language that machine will understand. So we try to kind of build up this link between the sonographer's language and the machine language, which is our next step to look at.
Amazing. Yeah, I think I'd like to say, just from behalf of everyone on Talking Robotics, as well as everyone in the meeting today, thank you so, so much for presenting your research here today. It's really, really interesting. Just before we end for today, is there anything else that you'd like to add, or any final remarks?
I think not from me, and welcome to submit any paper if you're interested in the workshop that we are going to organize
Sure.
in September.
Would you possibly have time for just one final question? There's been one more in the chat.
Sure,
So it's,
definitely.
does the eye tracking act as like a cursor? Could there be any like potential use of recording the movement? So kind of how, I guess, are you using the eye tracking maybe in the model?
Yeah, the way we model is we kind of, because the eye tracker will retrieve certain positions or eye gaze point. And what we do is we try to model this eye gaze as a distribution map rather than a single gaze point, which will be quite determinative. So we try to predict its mean and standard deviations of this gaze point, so that it will kind of get the model will give you distributions of the gaze rather than a single gaze point, as we show that we have a saliency map or heat map that is predicted. Right, and we also, the second work that we mentioned in this sensor-based guidance is we try to accumulate several steps of the eye gaze and looking at their patterns and then predict its distributions over next several steps. So I think the key thing is we don't look at the single gaze point, but look at the distributions of the gaze that they should the model or the sonographer should look at, and we gave these predictions to them.
Amazing.
And hope this answered the question.
Amazing. Thank you. Yes, so, so much. Yeah, for your presentation today, and for letting us know about the opportunities to submit to the conference as well. Yeah, for everyone else in the meeting, please feel free to follow Talking Robotics at the various different like Slack and this kind of thing that are all in the chat, as well as subscribing to the YouTube channel. This talk will be available a little bit later there as well, but I think we can bring the session to a close for today. So thank you so much, Qianhui.